Hot coffee. Hey guys, it's Ryan here. It's good to see you. DP Marketing.Services, author on the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors. Also the host of Blue Collar CEO. It's good to see you. I know you're busy, so thanks for taking the time to stop by. Hey, coming at you video with trying to address some of the biggest misconceptions I see in SEO. So if you're a plumbing, if you're an HVAC, if you're a home services company of any type, you probably have heard or read about SEO. You've heard a thing or two, probably had people sell it to you. You might be paying for it now. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of trying to go, SEO is all about this. It's about getting more blogs, or it's all about the keywords in your website. And sort of like those things are kind of true, but it also kind of misses the point. So when I think about SEO, so let's start here. SEO is the process by which you help a property rank on a search engine. Okay. The search engine, it could be a Google search engine. It could be a Yahoo search engine. It could be Bing or YouTube, Amazon. It doesn't matter. If there's a search function, SEO is a process about helping try to make that thing rank. And sometimes it can get really distracting and confusing to think about all these things and know like which one's the most important. For those of you who don't know, I have a nerd background involving aviation. My dad was a pilot. My grandpa was a pilot. So aviation's like been a part of something that I've always been around. I've always been intrigued by airplanes. It's a really fun hobby for me. One of the things that to me is interesting about airplanes is that when you're designing an airplane to be like really good at whatever its job is, right, whatever its primary mission is designed for, there's all these variables that you have to take into account. So for instance, a lot of people look at airplanes and go like, oh, well, it's the shape of the wing. The shape of the wing is going to determine like how well it flies, or the type of things it's capable of doing. Maybe some of you would go like, well, it's actually the wingtips, like the winglets or something like that. Maybe that helps it fly, and maybe it helps it improve fuel efficiency. Others might be like, oh, well, it's actually just smoothing the skin. Like you don't want any sort of bumps or breaks on the airflow. You think about these airplanes from World War I, they're all wood and sticks and cables, and you want it to be as streamlined as possible. Sometimes you're going to think about like, where are the engines mounted? Are they mounted at the tail? Are they mounted under the wing? What's the shape of the tail? Like, what's the design there? Is it a traditional sort of feather, like this sort of function? Is it a V tail? Is it a T tail? There's all these different things. And it's really easy to fall into the trap if you're thinking like SEO that, hey, that one thing is going to make the difference on the plane. Right? Hey, the difference of a plane having a traditional tail, versus a T-tail is going to make or break how well the thing flies. And in reality, guys, in my experience, it's not one of those pieces that does the thing. It's really the combination of them together. Each of them together help you have a meaningful impact. But any one of them by itself is kind of not super helpful. And that's true with SEO too. A lot of guys would go like, well, it's the keywords on the website. Yeah, I mean, keywords is a part of it, but if you just threw all your keywords, that's really not going to make or break an SEO campaign. Or you can go like, oh, it's all about backlinks. You're like, yeah, look, backlinks are a big deal, no question. But if you have backlinks, or if you have 10 backlinks, or if you have 1,000 backlinks, sometimes that's not really the point either. It's really not just about one thing. It's not about content. It's not about page speed. It's not about these things. I would make the argument the SEO in reality, it's about kind of all of those things, like just like on an airplane, right? The design of the fuselage and how the engines are mounted and what's on the wingtips, and the whole thing creates a picture of how the airplane will perform. And similarly, your whatever property is, your website, your YouTube channel, whatever, the whole picture is going to give an idea of how your website should perform. It's not just, did you use the right title on a blog, or if you do 20 blogs a month or one blog a month, right? It's not really that. And if I dump all those things under one umbrella, I would say you really just have two audiences that you always have to keep in mind. Audience one is people. You have to have really good content that people want to watch or read or whatever, right? Like you have to focus on your customer. And if you don't focus on your customer, nothing else really matters. The second sort of audience you have is Google, right? Or whatever search engine you're using, right? But Google, obviously, from our standpoint, that's kind of our focus. you have to focus on Google. If you have really good content that is awesome for people, but is ignorant of the robots that is Google, it's kind of a lose-lose scenario. You really do always need to be keeping both of those audiences in mind. And if you can do that, if you can keep the human audience in mind, if you can keep the robot audience in mind at the same time, you stand a much better chance of having a really successful website or YouTube channel or whatever, because you're not just thinking about that one thing. You're not just thinking about like, I got to get a blazing fast website, or I got to get these cool videos. You're focusing on providing the best solution for either your visitors or for Google, but ideally it's like this intersection of both, right? You don't want to do one at the exclusion of the other. And I gotta tell you, it really makes me hit my head against a very hard object over and over when I see guys talking about things like, well, all you need to do is just put keywords in your metadata. Like, that is the equivalent of like saying, oh, all you need to do is sweep all your wings on your airplane and it'll fly just fine. And that's not ever how that works. And so just keep in mind, it's not really a one-trick pony. It's not a, hey, all you have to do is X, Y, or Z. Just like designing airplanes to be effective at their primary mission, to make sure that your property is going to be able to achieve its primary mission. There's more to it. But you will never fail if you're always keeping your customer in mind and you're always keeping Google in mind. I would love to hear from you. What sort of headaches do you have when you're trying to deal with this? Like, how do you solve that needle? Are there times where you compromise to go, hey, I know this is hurting like a technical performance of a website, but I know my users really love it, so I'm going to do it. I would love to hear from you and your experience. Leave a comment below. And as always, guys, I love to hear from you. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. Let us know what you think. We'll see you next time.